Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 20 minutes after 7 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning, candidate for lieutenant governor, representing or hoping to represent the Republican Party, Isabella Solis, with us this morning. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. First off, thank you for spending a few minutes here with us. We do appreciate that. I know the life of a person on the campaign trail gets pretty busy pretty quick. So
Absolutely. We are just, taking it, as it comes every single day, just getting up early and just getting on the road.
Sure, absolutely. Well, before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of everything, of course, for folks that don't know, Isabella, former county commissioner in Doña County, Cruces area. But other than that, tell folks a little bit about yourself and just how you came to be running for lieutenant governor, I guess.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Yes, I am a daughter of migrant workers. I'm the oldest of 8. And so growing up, I always had to be an advocate for my family. My parents had elementary education, so therefore I was really out there busy, speaking up with, for my parents.
Gotcha.
And then from there, I was taking care of my ill mother, and I had 2 babies. And so I had a high school diploma, and I felt like there was more to life than just that.
Gotcha.
So I began to take one class at a time. Actually, I took one computer class at a trade school. And so from there, my journey in the education system became very important to me. So it took me well over a decade to get my bachelor's degree, because of all the responsibilities
Well, sure.
I had.
Life, you had a life to live.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Well, and to be honest, that I feel like your path is more of the. It's not the traditional path, but it's the more common path, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's why it's important, that we really acknowledge the fact that we do need trade schools, because we're not all in the universities. And so that's kind of where I started. But education is real near and dear to my heart, because in my family, there's only 2 people that graduated, out of 8. There's only 2 that graduated university. So once I graduated, I wanted everyone to get a degree, to go to school.
It's like, hey, if I can do it, everybody can do it.
That's
right?
right. There's like a whole new world out there when you get educated.
You're not wrong there. That is absolutely true. So obviously serving as county commissioner, how did that come to be? What made you decide to kind of cross into the political world a little bit?
Well, I was attending a meeting. It was a little mini conference that they had there in Las Cruces, and I saw an older woman. Her name was Olga Beredosa. She was a city councilwoman,
Okay.
and she was really passionate about what she was talking about, engaged in her community. And so I thought, man, I can do that, because I served FEMA at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and so I served the people. I
Gotcha.
was on housing missions for those that lost their homes. So I had that passion to help people, even, at a young age.
Gotcha.
And so when I saw her, I thought, man, I can do that.
Okay.
And so when I asked her, I said, can I do what you're doing? And I had no clue, because I was not in politics, never been. And so she said, okay, tell me what you've done. So I said, I work for FEMA. That's where I've served. And she says, you absolutely can do this.
Yeah.
You don't need, college degree, doctorate degree. You just need someone that is interested in working for the community and getting things right.
Sure. And so that just, I guess it kind of found you a little bit, I think.
Exactly.
You could say.
So she inspired me. And so I ran for county commission, and Lord behold, I ousted the chairman of the county. I became the chairwoman of Doña County. I was able to spearhead a $10.2 million road initiative as a county commissioner. I'm very proud of that, because that's never been done in the history of Doña County.
Sure.
And so it was not just for my benefit or for my little district of District 37, but it was for the entire county. And what we are lacking today is those initiatives that we need to get out there and work for our community.
Absolutely. So now that you're done on the you've served your time in the commission here. What made you to make the decision, make that leap to say, you know what, I want to go to the state level here, and I want to make a difference in Santa Fe?
Well, so if you notice everything that's going on in our state and in our nation,
it'd be kind of tricky not to.
That's right. So I realized, I've got to do more than just sit here and just kick it,
Sure.
I've got to get out and do something in my community. So I was encouraged to run, because I want to be that voice to be able to fight for our freedoms, the rights that we have, from the foundation of our country, our founding fathers said these are our freedoms, these are our rights.
Yeah.
And so I felt the urge to run for lieutenant governor because as a county chairwoman, I know some about government,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like if I can run the county in Doñana County, I can certainly run the Senate in Santa Fe.
Sure. Let me ask this because this is, I think this is a problem, we have, and this is not just New Mexico, it's everywhere, but it seems to be stronger here in New Mexico when, obviously when people rise through the ranks in the parties and things like that, then people be beholden to things like that. How has that process been for you to kind of stay true to yourself? And what I mean by that is as you're running Harris County, ran as county commissioner, now a lieutenant governor. Once you start getting at big levels, people start wanting to bend your ear and things like that and put you in different directions. And that's where I always feel like sometimes candidates get lost into doing more of what the party wants versus more of what the people want. You're at that level now where you're like, no, I'm still in touch with the people. I'm going to stay that way. Are you going to be able to kind of maintain that? Because as you get up in the levels, it gets harder to do that. I mean, is that something that you're kind of aware of and cognizant of, and wanting to stay, I guess stay grounded or stay, working for the people, keep the eye on the prize, I guess you could say.
Well, Mike, every morning I get up and I have to think about, okay, I have to be true to myself, first of all.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for, health, life, and breath. But my job as a lieutenant governor and even as a county commissioner was to serve the people, to serve the constituents.
Sure.
So I have to remain true to myself, and I have to have my integrity, and people have to see that because then they can trust me. If you don't have integrity and people can't trust you, how can they vote for you?
Sure.
How can they have confidence that maybe there's a possibility that this woman can bring change? As I can go back to as a county commissioner and being able to pass that road initiative, I couldn't have done it without my colleagues on the board.
Sure.
There is no way. I needed their vote. So the important thing for me was to be able to be a woman of influence.
Gotcha.
And so I had to say, okay, Commissioner Gonzalez, you really have to, think about this. It's not just going to benefit me and my district, but all of our districts, all
Gotcha.
of the county. Think about it.
Gotcha.
So you have to be a woman of influence and stay true to yourself, no matter what it looks like out there. There are people that said, well, I'd like for you to come and do this, and I would like for you to come and do that. But at the end of the day, is it just or unjust? And so I have to work on the line of
Gotcha.
justice.
So it's kind of, you just got to, all right, what's the end game here?
Yes.
And if something is going good towards that end game, then I need to support that. And ultimately, if it doesn't, even if it sounds good, then I need to back away from something.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that look good, sound good, and smell good, but that doesn't mean that they're good on the inside.
You're not wrong there. That is absolutely true.
I mean, you have politicians that sound great. They have a great message. They have a great voice, but that doesn't mean that that's your person.
Sure. So let me let's go to shift there a little bit and talk about the job you're running for here. Looking at our state today and looking at things, obviously there's going to be a lot of things you're probably not happy with here. But as lieutenant governor, when you look at what's going on right now, what's the biggest needs that you think are like day one, job one for a new administration in Santa Fe here that needs to get done?
Well, there's a lot of things that need to be done, but I don't think we can do them all in day one.
Gotcha.
It's going to take a time. It's going to take a minute. But as a lieutenant governor, I would have to be a team player with whoever that gubernatorial candidate governor is going to be.
It's that person's agenda, and you're there to help support that.
Absolutely. So as a team player, whatever their agenda is, I would work with them to be able to pass those policies or whatever it is that they're. And even if I think about it right now, there's a lot of gubernatorial candidates. As you know, now we have 8.
Yeah. And I'm sure more coming.
Possibly.
You never know.
So, and when I hear them speak, I think that we're all on the same page with kind of the same ideas. We're all talking about the same issues. And so I think I could support any of those governors with what their policies and their agendas would be.
Gotcha.
So that would be my job, to be a team player and to help push those initiatives forward so that we can help the people of New Mexico.
Sure. So, like for you personally, what's, we all have our passion project, things that, the reason we got in for you, what if say you do, for one term of lieutenant governor, if you get left the office after that, what would be the one thing you wanted to make sure was done under your watch?
So I do have some priorities
Uh
as a
huh.
lieutenant governor. I think that the office can be whatever it is that you make it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't intend to be there for 30 days or 60 days. I plan to be there all year long
Gotcha.
working for the constituents of New Mexico
Mm-hmm.
or my constituents.
Sure.
And so one of the priorities is small business. My daddy was a business owner. And so I know the struggles that he had,
Mm-hmm.
as a business owner. And right now, we know that all businesses had so many struggles after, COVID and all the things that they have to deal with. So I would work with small businesses. My goal would be to travel all 33 counties and go talk to county managers,
Mm-hmm.
city managers, fire departments, different organizations to find out what their needs are and how can I help and how can I push maybe a particular project forward
Sure.
that has been hanging out there for a long time. And I can relate to that because even as we passed that road initiative as a commissioner, the people in my community said, Miss Solis, we've been waiting well over a decade for this road to be paved.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that have been, weighing out in the balance somewhere. And so those are the things that I like to see going to all 33 counties,
Sure.
finding the needs and see how I can be a woman of influence to push those processes forward.
Absolutely. I know we live here in southeast New Mexico, and oil and gas is very much a part of the fabric here, part of the state, and obviously people here in southeast New Mexico are very aware of the contributions and things that are on the state here. I'm probably I'm going to put an assumption here, but I'll let you kind of finish that. Big supporter of oil and gas, and wanting to make sure that stays a part of our community, and continues to serve New Mexico, but doesn't get treated like some of the way it's been treated over the last decade or
Yeah.
two here.
Yes.
But talk a little bit about that, and your stance on this, and where what under when you're in the administration, how you want to kind of serve and service the oil and gas industry.
Thank you for that, Mike. Yes, I believe in oil and gas.
Hmm.
I support the oil and gas industry. As you well know, that is a large portion of our revenue
Hmm.
for education, your infrastructure, and public safety. And so, yes, I am a big supporter of that. I think that if I have to just analyze our state, we
Hmm.
have wonderful resources here. Oil and gas, we have mining, we have, the pecans, we
Hmm.
have just so much to give in New Mexico. It's right here in our hands.
Hmm.
And I think that what we see today, or at least my perspective, is that we are not managing the resources that we have in New Mexico appropriately. What we have is bad managers in Santa Fe right now.
Sure.
And so we need to change that. And if we were to change that, we could be a state that would be very prosperous. We're already rich.
Sure.
We just don't know how to manage that. And that's why we need to have good candidates running for office, not just a politician.
Hmm.
Politicians, you can find them a dime a dozen. And the problem is that they're always concerned about their next election.
Sure.
And they're concerned about implementing another program.
Yeah.
And that's a politician. But what we need is statesmen that have a little fire and a little fight in them
Hmm.
that says this is wrong and this is right. And right now, I think that we need statesmen to say, I care about your culture, I care about your history, I care about your children, and I'm concerned about our next generation. And those are the people that we need in office today.
Hmm.
As you know already, I don't even have to tell you that New Mexico has been a one-party state for a very long time. What
Yes.
we always talk about 90 years. I hear that over and over.
Uh-huh.
And so what are we going to do different? So this is a very critical election. 2022
Sure.
is very key. I believe it with all my heart that we can change where we're going.
Good.
But Republicans need to get out there and vote.
That's something too. It's we need hopefully the numbers come out for this. Obviously the election here in November, but the bigger elections here in the years to come. It is definitely been a problem. But I gotta ask, because I think, do you think as you're going around and seeing things, I mean, people getting fed up with this current? I mean, like what you're seeing right now. Even I mean, it's very partisan, and you got generally Democrats and things are going to line up with the Democrat side, regardless if they like it or not.
Right.
Republicans, same thing. But are you starting to see a shift in that a little bit, where people like, you know what? I've been a Democrat my whole life, but this is not acceptable what's going on in the party or in the state right now. This is not what I signed up for. I mean, are we starting to see a shift where people are like, you know what? I'd rather, where they're shifting a state first mentality versus a party first mentality. You know, does that make sense?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that people that are cognizant of what is going on in our state and in our nation, if you will, are beginning to come out of the woodwork. I mean, even if you think about it right now, all those that were receiving unemployment, that were at home watching TV, you know, eating popcorn, you know, while you are kicking back at home, receiving the unemployment, you know, they're stealing your freedoms.
Yeah.
They're stealing your kids right out of the education through the education system.
Sure.
So I think that it's important to realize, and really a lot of people, if you think about it, are coming out of the woodwork because they're starting to feel, you know, like this is not right.
Yeah.
These mandates are not correct. This is not what we signed up for. This is our free country.
Yeah.
And we need to take it back. And that's what we need. And really, to be honest with you, it's not about Republicans and it's really not about Democrats, Mike. It's about we the people.
Sure.
It's time that we stand up and we fight and we push back. And we don't take all of that. We need to stand up and fight, go to rallies, go to the school board meetings. And the way we win elections is that we need to win from the bottom up. We need to win our local elections. People that are running for our local office should be winning those positions so that they can grow into the positions to go in, you know, to the state level.
And I almost think that that the local side is going to make the parties better, because if there's good government and good work coming at the local levels, the municipal level, the county and state level, that's going to force the higher levels to put, you know what I'm saying, better. And maybe, you know, we look at Congress nationally here and what's going, and obviously there's got to be a lot of regulation going on in Congress to fix stuff before you get there. But maybe the change at the levels here trickles up to force that good change there. Maybe that's too optimistic.
Well,
I don't know, but I feel like, you know, that's a positive way, is to, you know, if we're getting it right at the local level, maybe that'll matriculate up a little bit.
I firmly agree with that, because you can't build a building starting from the top down. You have to have a foundation. So you have to have good people running at the local level, working their way up.
Sure.
And that's how you grow and learn. I mean, I couldn't say, well, I'm going to run for governor and never been in office before, to experience that, to learn and to gain some knowledge there.
Sure.
That gives me great experience and the opportunity and perhaps the upper hand on some of these other candidates. But I think it starts there. We grow from the bottom up. And then those candidates that have learned their wherever they may be, school board or whatever that may
their
be.
niche or their place.
Exactly. Yeah. So then they're going to have that place that's like, okay, now I want to run for state representative.
Gotcha.
And then you make good state representatives out of them.
Sure.
But I think what we're missing is that we have forgotten about the local, you know, level candidates, you know, and we need to begin to equip and train people. The Democrats do that a lot.
Sure.
And I don't see that happening on our side.
Gotcha. So maybe that's, and to be honest, I think that's because you look at our state legislature and the corruption and the nonsense that's been going on there since New Mexico's been New Mexico. It's almost become tradition or the way of the world. It's like, well, that's just how they do it. And you're like, well, why? That's not right. But because it's been so that way so long, everyone just says it's commonplace. I'm like, well, no, someone's got to stand up and say, and I feel like maybe we're getting close to there, but I don't know. Every time we do that, then we have an election and I see what goes on. I'm like, well, I guess that wasn't what I thought.
Well, I mean, that's a really, really good point, because if you think about it, I have to say that I was totally complicit when it comes to critical race theory.
Yeah.
Because I never really paid attention. I really just thought that education was the politician's job.
Sure.
And I just left it to that, and I just stayed in the church, went to church, and I don't get engaged in those kind of things. That's
Sure.
not my thing.
You
But
have your beliefs, but you believe people should have their own, and that's
yes,
their right to do that.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
now it's completely different because I have been complicit to the education system, as many of us out here, because we got in the boat with the teachers union and went downstream with them and never paid attention. And so now it's time that we begin to negotiate some of those contracts and say, hey, how can we change some policies? We need to implement some policies here. We need to make some changes. And now we're trying to go upstream when it's a little bit difficult, but it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why I kind of look at school board right now,
Yeah.
and you look at, of course, obviously that those elections are going on now, and I got to be honest, we have a lot of people, and school board elections are pretty highly contested in the state right now because of what's going on. But I got to be honest, to me, at this moment in point in time, those elections are pretty much moot because your school boards have zero authority,
Yeah.
zero power. So you can elect anybody you want in there until the PEDs loses it or gets some regulation on it. Doesn't matter what's going on. So I feel bad because part of me, I'm like, yeah, I want to have folks on and talk about it, but like, you're making promises none of you can keep because at the way the point we're going right now, the state's going to shut and the courts are going to back you. Look at Floyd.
Yeah.
Ask, have you heard anything from the Floyd School Board since all that went down? You have not, and you will not, because the PED is running the show over there, and that's going to happen to every single school board that tries to buck that right now.
Well, I see your point in
Yeah.
that, and I understand that. But to me, even if we get those school board members elected, and then we get our people as governor, lieutenant governor, and these other places, at least there's still hope, that we can change that.
Yeah.
And I can't give up and say,
Yeah, we can't
it's a
give
lost
up.
cause. That's why we're still running for,
Yeah.
office.
I think to fix school board, we got to change the governor first.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter what we do there. So I think
Yeah.
we got to put the fight in the state level. That's where
Exactly.
it's
And
got
so
to go.
we can't give up because
Yeah.
there's still hope. Let's get those school board members there because when we have the governor that we need up here,
Yeah.
then they can work together.
Yeah.
But if we don't have them, same thing.
Yeah. Well, we're running short of time, so we got to wrap this conversation up. Good news. If y'all want to keep the conversation going, head on over to Cerritos here about 20 minutes. We will have Isabella. You're going to be doing a meet and greet. How long are you going to be there at Cerritos this morning?
I think we're going to be there about an hour or
Okay,
so.
so about 9 o'clock
Yeah.
or so. So perfect breakfast hour. Have you eaten yet?
Not yet.
I personally, I get the build your own breakfast burrito, but that kind of works in pairs because it's huge. But it's like $5. You put whatever you want in there. But then my wife and I, we each get our own and then split hash browns. But all their that's just our routine. But you're gonna have good food there.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good place. They got too bad you're not there for lunch because they do tacos and all that. But the breakfast is kind of my favorite. So,
Yeah.
but you'll be there. And then of course for folks, if you can't make it this morning out to Cerritos, what's if people want to learn more about Isabella Solis and your campaign and get involved, give out the website or the best places to learn more about you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Yes, I can be reached at isabellaforlg.com. That's my website.
Okay.
And I just want people to know that I intend to be the chief spokesperson in Santa Fe. I really want to be able to address the corruption and the cynicism we see there. And that is my goal, and work for the constituents and for people to know that I'm going to be a servant. It's servant leadership. That's all there is to it.
Awesome.
There's a lot of work involved in this, but I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. It's time. I always, we look at our state and I'm like, to be honest, to a person, our values are more conservative. When I look at, you look at Hispanic culture, you look at very family oriented. To me, those are all conservative values.
That's right. Yeah.
And I never understand why our state is liberal as it is when its people, I think, are more family valued people.
They are, and
Yeah.
what we need to do is stand up and fight. We're all, pro God, pro life, pro Second Amendment, pro family. You talk to people and you hear that all the time. Okay, so then why are we where we are?
Yeah.
Well, we need to keep pushing. When the fight gets tough, we still need to stay in the game.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you. Come on again. She will be at Los Cerritos. Isabel will be there from till about 8 o'clock. She'll be over there in about 15 minutes, and then be there till about 9. So come get you some breakfast and have a chance to meet and converse and chit chat. And if you want to join the team and all that, I'm sure they'll have all
Yes.
that information there.
Yes, thanks a bunch, Mike. I
Awesome.
really appreciate it.
Anytime, and good luck, and hope to see you again soon. And as Lieutenant Governor, love to, anytime you're, in town, love to have you. So
Thank you so much.
awesome.
God bless you.
Thank you.